real. It's we're constantly bombarded by stories of success, so it's good to make it a bit more real and hear about things and how things are going. So without any further ado, I would introduce you to the world. And Felix, please tell us a bit more about yourself.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for creating this event, first of all, and again, big congratulations to Balloons and the team launching campaign in today, actually. So make sure you give upvote, leave a comment, and share the products with your friends. In short, I work full-time investing companies across Asia and Europe, but what keeps my motivations is actually wake up in the early morning, do stuff late, and in the weekends I keep hacking and using all these no-code tools to build projects and solutions that I'm passionate about. Recently, I launched campaigns on product hunts, which receive a lot of support from the community. And in fact, I've been active on product hunt for quite some time as a contributor, as a hunter, and recently I launched a few products. Lots of learnings, successful some error. I get rejected by the application as well. So many dramas, but I'm super happy to tell you more.
Awesome. Really, really excited to hear more about it. So let's start with, what is Product Hunt for you? Obviously we know what Product Hunt is, but what does it mean for you? And why is it something that you choose to invest time and energy on?
I used to read Product Hunt every day. Now I changed my pace to every week. So actually on Tuesday, I have a reminder to remind myself, please review all the products last week. So actually on Tuesday, I turn on Product Hunt and I open all the tabs. Like I just have a quick screen on the products published the past 7 days. If the taglines or the descriptions interested, and I would just open a tab and review like one by one. I can spend an hour keep reading the comments and looking at products, the landing page, and see if there's any products where I want to pay more attention and spend my energy to literally try and see eventually if any products where I can use as a user. So I do this every week right now. I've been some time, I would say a year or two, doing this nonstop. By doing this, I not only I learn a lot of great ideas, products, but I also connect all these product owners and hunters just to start a conversation. So why you start a product? How can I help? And eventually there's a quite an interesting conversation going on with people. And I met a lot of hunters, met a lot of product owners because of Product Hunt. So I think to me, Product Hunt is really a community. It's really a platform for people to connect, who shares best practices and help growing products and learning best practices from each other.
That's great. That's amazing. So would you say that your main motivation for kind of showing up every Tuesday and doing that, is it mostly you being a passionate and very active member of the community? Is it like wearing your investor's hat? Is it wearing your product builder hat so that you can actually get inspired? What would you say is your main driver for that?
I would say both, but my primary goal is really just to learn and see if there's any interesting things or trendy topics that I should spend my time. And I do this because I realize I have limited resources. The things I can do is very limited, but I can learn. I can absorb knowledge and interesting insights from people. And throughout the process, I actually consolidate a lot of new ideas, how people run the business, how people create a new business model. And surprisingly, on Product Hunt, you not only see digital products, sometimes they're gadgets, sometimes they're books as well. Sometimes big tech companies also use Product Hunts to launch their new feature. So
like
I think
Stripe recently.
Yeah, Stripe, Apple, they keep dominating our leaderboard. Please go away. But yes, you can see big companies are also using platforms to get connected with the end customers. I think they're pretty smart. At the end of the day, they are selling products to us. We pay for them. And this is a great community for you to get closer to the end customers, get feedback so that you can launch a better campaign or product moving forward.
I see. Interesting. So when it comes to you reviewing all these products, for me, the way my brain at least works is when I first start doing something, I spend a lot of time and energy in trying to figure out an approach and a method around it, right? So that I can replicate that and I can do it again and again and again. And for example, I would imagine if I were to become a very frequent reviewer of other product hunt products, I would start developing an eye for how to pick up a good product or specific things that I would look for. What is your, if you have an approach, or maybe it's more ad hoc, what is your approach to quickly and at scale review all these products? Because it sounds like you're a product hunt reviewing machine. So how do you go about it?
Yeah, I have, if I remember correctly, I have uploaded roughly 700 products so far since I signed up.
701, you mean, with today's product?
Yes, with today, of course, with Balloon, going to be 701. Yeah, 700 products since I signed up a Product Hunt account. I have created a few categories inside my profile. So I just tag these products. So whenever I need to record something, I want to look at, how this person build up a landing page, how this person create a chatbot builder. Then I'll just go back to my catalog and just review again and see if there's any update, if there's any interesting areas which I missed. Apart from that, I also have a private Airtable to store all the products I've been collected, not only Product Hunt, but also on other channels such as Indie Hackers, Hacker News, and other Slack groups and all that. And it's been some time. I've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. I categorize each product with the links, their social media accounts, who are the creators. I can quickly record the person and also the product immediately.
Yeah, very organized. So let's say if I don't know if this is the amount of time that you spend, but let's say if you spend a minute or so to review a product, what are the things that really kind of catch your eye? Is it mostly about the actual story? Is it the visuals? Is it a bit of a hunch, like you feel that this product is of high quality? What is it that usually kind of attracts your attention? And maybe you can share with us an example of something that really drew your attention recently and why.
I think, to be honest, it doesn't really matter how many upvotes they get. And I think at the end of the day, upvotes are a signal. Like, maybe this owner has a huge connections where they can able to aggregate a good upvotes. But there's some interesting products and owners where they have less audience than other people, but they still manage to publish a great product. So for me, I'm pretty agnostic towards the numbers they achieve on product hunts. I literally go through their tagline, their descriptions, which industry they tap into, and see if there's any relevance to what I do, and also the
I think we lost you for a sec.
No problem. We can restart. Great. Yeah.
So we should be live, and we're live. Sorry about that. So we had a bit of a technical issue, but this is 2020, where rarely things go according to plan, and I think one of the most common things is internet connections dropping and all that. So it's fine. We can stitch it, and I think the audience, being indie hackers themselves and makers, they will appreciate us being a bit more scrappy about it. So we're talking about what are some of that really catch your eye and your attention when you kind of scan through products. And you were telling us about basically how it's not just about the upvotes, because the upvotes could be a signal, but it could be also a false signal, and how you can kind of cut through the noise and see whether a product actually is of quality. So yeah, I think that's where we kind of left off.
It's good to know technical issue earlier. You still have some time to work on it before the campaign goes live. I mean, upvotes are a signal to help people quickly scan how popular are these products. But I think at the end of the day, some product owners, they get more audience. Maybe they launch a couple of times. Maybe they have a huge social network. But some product makers, they have less presence, but still manage to deliver a great product. So for me, I'm pretty agnostic towards the numbers they achieve on Product Hunt. But I really look into what problem are they solving. How do they describe their value proposition, their taglines, their logos, the design of the landing page? I think everything's are equally important. And also the story behind the founders. I really into reading the story behind, what's the motivations, why they create this product, and why it's the right time. And I think for me, as a hunter, as a contributors, I learn a lot from how these people craft their story and eventually convert their value proposition into a product. So I'm not just looking at how they make the product, but also the motivation behind. And I would say on average, every week I will review maybe 80 to 100 products. If there's
Wow.
80 products a week, yes, I will just review, have a quick scan, maybe 20, 30 seconds. And if I realize the value proposition is clear, website's great, and also the entry barrier to try the product is minimal, like you sign up and then you can try, then I am more likely to give feedback and try the product. Versus sometimes people ask for credit card immediately, and then I don't even know what they're doing, like the product, am I the customers, and you're asking me to enter so many informations. I usually don't give any attention to these products.
True, indeed. I know there's different schools of thought in, like, how early you want to basically send people away to kind of clear through the noise and not have to deal with unqualified leads and all that. And I know, for example, like, Peter Levels is one of the people who kind of advocates to, ask for payment like as early on. But definitely, it does introduce a very high friction, and the bar is very high for you to go through the onboarding and all that. So yeah, definitely agree with you. So let's talk a bit about, like, your launches. So you've launched 2 products so far. So yeah, I would love to hear a bit about, like, how did you prepare for the first one? How did it go? And, like, what were some of the learnings that you applied on the second one, which in terms of upvotes did, like, really, really well?
I think there's a few success metrics behind, but let me talk about how I feel. I actually launched 3 times. There's 2 products, and Virtual Mojito is a product. That's how we get connected. And then Venturelist is my most recent product. And for Venturelist, I actually launched 2 times, like 1.0 and 2.0. But let me talk about Virtual Mojito first. It's one of the launch I did, I think, 3 or 4 months ago. I started this project in April, just based on my curiosity of how people stay connected virtually, creating products to replace Zoom or Google Meet, giving users and event organizers more uniqueness and unique approach to put up communities and events. And that's how we know Balloon. And I because I think there's so many ways to create and engage communities and events. And thanks to all these product owners putting up their effort to create unique product to help us achieve our goal. So Virtual Mojito started, originally it was just an idea where I want to put up an article collecting a list of products, and eventually my list started getting longer and longer. So I was thinking, how can I display these products and help my friends and followers filter and search the right product for them to create events or communities? And that's how Virtual Mojito become a website built with Notion. So I don't have any plan back then when I think about putting up a campaign and launch the product. I just create a few posts on my social media and notify my friends, hey, I have a new product, please give some feedback. And if you like it, share with your friends, like many makers. I don't have any formal plan for my product and launch. I just put the links, the logo, visuals randomly and see how many tractions I can get. It's purely based on experiment. I don't expect I would get much because I don't have much effort before my campaign to work with the potential users, hunters, or upvoters. Never spent any effort. Eventually, the campaign was really awful. I only get like 20 upvotes, not even appear on the leaderboard. But I learned I need to do something when I launch again. More hard work, more content, tailor-made for my audience, and eventually do something even more to help people understand my product. So in October, just a month or 2 ago, I launched Venturelist 2.0. And this time it was so different. I literally spent 30 days before.
30 days?
30 days. 30
wow,
days.
Crazy.
Build my audience, building in public, share my metrics, share how I do my right frame prototype early on. I'm doing this, I think there's a couple of things behind the scene. The fun fact is I make use of most of my connection on communities such as social media, indie hackers, and some communities I involve on Slack as well. And one day I saw MakeCapad was initiating a 30 days challenge. So I participated. I just want to challenge myself if I can build something in 30 days. I did. So that's how Venturelist 2.0 emerged. And throughout the 30 days, every week I will put up a report. I will make sure to tell my audience, hey, this week I gained this number. I have this landing page ready. I get X amounts of waitlist. I'm super ready to launch in this day. Please come to support, give feedback, something like that. Been doing this for a couple of days. I will create a post, write something just to bring up the momentum and let people know there's a new product coming on. Maybe you are the user, maybe not. But long story short, when I published the product on 15 October on Twitter on time, put a post. And actually, I have created over 20 variations of articles and short tweet to publish on all the channels. Each channel has a dedicated content. I didn't just copy and paste, but I literally create from scratch, personalized for each content.
Yeah.
It helps me, rank better at the same time, tailor for the audience on the specific channels. Surprisingly, I finished the campaign with 5th place on the day, with over 500 upvotes. Not a lot, but I also made a decent amount of sales in 24 hours. So I think this whole launching process taught me you really need to spend your effort, prepare your content, customize. Don't try to sell. Talk about the story, talk about the motivation, talk about how you can solve the problem of your target audience. And I have received a tremendous amount of support from Twitter, way more than what I usually tweet on Twitter. I think my tweet got at least 20,000 views and roughly 100 tweets, and it's just amazing. Usually I will only get 10 likes, and people don't even leave a comment. But when you launch something, you realize the support from the communities is just crazy. People are extra happy to give it back, extra happy to support, leave a comment, upvote, and all these things just add up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And a bit of a plug here. Like, if you guys don't follow Felix yet, you should definitely follow him on Twitter. I mean, I've already so active, and you're so transparent. But know also that your content is actually very good, solid content. You put a lot of time and effort, and it shows. And when you show up and you're that committed, and you have that kind of what's the word, man? I got stuck. When you basically show up every day, it's just people appreciate that. And I think there is something about product launches where people empathize with it, because it's an aspirational thing. It's something that many people want to do. Some people are actually going through the process, and when they see someone else doing the same thing, they kind of relate to that person, and they understand that it's something they can do. Hence, they get very, very excited. So 30 days is a lot to prepare for Product Hunt. So in hindsight, looking back, I mean, obviously it has been a success, and it did very well. I think I have the tab somewhere here open. You did 511 upvotes, which is it's pretty crazy. So in hindsight, you did mention and obviously you got a lot of traction and followers. And I think it's one of those things that it pays dividends in the future. It's not just about what happens on the day, but it's about the kind of brand reputation, if you will, because I mean, every person carries a specific brand at the end of the day, and how this can pay off in the future. So would you say it was worth it, 30 days of effort?
Totally worth it. And not only I spent the 30 days to prepare my campaign, but I also used my time to optimize the product and make sure my technical stack were in place. And I also build connections with people who might be interested in this product. So the 30 days is a journey of marketing, content, building product, prepare the campaign, select the distribution channels, and also force myself to keep my products and also my audience accountable. And all these, motivations, and just letting me, motivate myself to wake up early to do my stuff. And if there's no Product Hunt launch campaign, I think I will still do the same. Now I still have daily and weekly routine to help myself complete certain tasks, complete certain accomplishments. And I think it's a good practice, no matter you are building a product or not.
Definitely. So how do you manage to keep yourself so motivated and so organized and committed to this micro goals that you have? How do you do it? Is it some kind of personal hack that you use, some app? Is it just a matter of how you operate as a person?
I think regardless of which application or products or tools you use to measure your productivity, I think it's all about your discipline. It's all about how you organize and quantify your life. But in short, I put most of my goals on tools like Notion, Todoist. You can also do the same on many different tools. But on Notion, I have created a dashboard, and basically every 14 days, I will restart a new daily routine. So, and then I take 2 or 3 days off just to do nothing, give myself some break and, take a breath. But throughout this 14 days challenge, I usually populate a list of 10 small items every day, which I need to complete. And these 10 small items would be like wake up at 6:30. It's not easy for me. It's really tough. I usually do 8, but 6:30, I would get extra 1.5 hours to do something I'm more passionate about. It could be workout, it could be reading, it could be just read my newsletter. So I wake up early. It's a task. If I complete, I get a tick. And then try to drink water, literally H2O, really important, 6 to 8 cups recommended by doctors. So it's a task.
It depends. How big are the cups? That's what makes all the difference.
Like small coffee cup. Like at least just to put myself into a routine where I need to go to the fountain and grab a water. No matter it's just a sip or a cup of water. I need to educate myself. I need to stay hydrated. Because stay hydrated will help you refresh and help you bombard more ideas. You have more energy, basically. So and then wake up early, drink water, and I force myself to walk. Just to give you background information, I'm living in an urban city and transportation is common. People don't usually walk unless you have time to do workouts and so on and so forth. So I'm living quite far from the city to my office. There's always buses and shuttle bus for me to transport to the city, but I try to walk more. So there's a task, walk certain amount of distance. And then I have all these read every day, write every day, practice something every day, and I throw away stuff every day. I try to be a minimalist. So these kind of tasks, I'm doing this every day. And every 14 days, I will complete a challenge. I see how much I completed. When I reach certain percentage, I will reward myself.
Yeah, I mean, so many great takeaways there. And by the way, the word I was looking for is discipline. So thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
But everything you said, like in terms of like, you basically kind of divide and conquer something very big in like smaller chunks that are more achievable and you can celebrate your wins. It's more about, as well as you said, instead of constantly intentionally thinking about something, just let it in the background. And I personally feel that walking or like going for a run helps me a lot with that. And, these are the times where I get my best ideas. But then the tricky part is, for me, I feel like my brain, I literally feel it like a stack, from a programming point of view. It's as if like news keep like compounding on top of each other, and I can feel the weight as those ideas kind of keep piling up. And for me, it's a matter of having an extension of my brain, if you will, where I can offload those things, so I don't have to worry about keeping them in my memory. It could be anything from like Asana, as you said, notes, anything. But yeah, it's very important. Like, and there's no one solution to rule them all. Every person operates differently. But I think definitely it's important to kind of break things down into kind of smaller chunks that are more digestible. So with all that now and everything you've learned on like Product Hunt, if you launch, or not if, I think it's just a matter of time. I don't know what the product is going to be. Maybe it's Venture List 3.0 or maybe it's something else. What are some of the things that you're going to do differently?
Well, I think I will replicate most of the success I learned from the Venture List launch. But on top of that, I think I need to be more strategized in terms of the audience I really want to reach. Honestly, throughout the launch campaign, within the 24 hours, I have received roughly 22 or 24 sales. And after the campaign, since I launched right now, I have almost 80 paying customers. So you can see there's 50 difference even after the campaign. So there's some effect even after the campaign where there's momentum going on. People still upvoting. Every day I receive notifications. And I just keep myself updating people, writing content, and publish on channels or communities like Indie Hackers and Slack groups. And I think this practice is quite a long journey all the way until you launch your product again or maybe have a major update. So I always put myself into always in a launch mode kind of situations. Whether you are fixing or putting up a small features, is also part of launch. So just try not to put yourself into a situation where, hey, I'm a top product hunt campaign tomorrow, maybe I need to spend more effort. Yes, of course, that's because there's so many busts, but also try to replicate the same mindset into small things. Try to be deliver as high quality as possible and treat your audience like the normal launch on product hunts. But funny thing is, I just put up a tweet today say I'm going to take up a year-long challenge to learn a new skill again. Maybe I will launch, maybe I will create a product. And I'm just so excited about how the outcome looks like, and the support from the community is just mind-blowing. So now I have more motivations and I have commitment to deliver high-quality results.
No, that's a great point, actually. To what extent would you say that you're like internally motivated, and to what extent would you say that you put things out there to create that kind of pressure, quote unquote? It's a positive pressure to deliver on what?
Absolutely. I think it's a positive pressure. It's also a peer kind of accountability network effect. And for me, why I do this is because every year I just want to challenge myself to learn new things. And then the more I learn, the more people I can connect, because I can speak more technical languages, for example. Let's say if I'm a developer, I want to learn business. The more you do, the more you are able to communicate with business people in those economy. So I think it's really helpful for at least to expand my circle, to learn new stuff, to take on another discipline. And I think, why not?
No, definitely, I agree. And another thing that you mentioned before is about the actual target audience of your product hunt launch. So let's say, for example, for ourselves, we're a virtual events company. I would say that most likely our target audience, so our target audience is mostly event organizers, or like, agencies, or like production companies. Most likely, most of them are not kind of, hanging out in product hunt. Product hunt is a different kind of community. So would you say, so what I'm trying to get to is, like, obviously we've spent a lot of time as well on our product hunt launch, because we want to get the word out there. We want to show the world what we built. But how do you validate whether your product hunt audience kind of aligns, or if there's any intersection with your actual commercial audience? Like in your case, it sounds like with the second launch that you had, it sounds like your product hunt audience was very much the audience that could also convert into customers. How do you go about it? And would you still put the same effort if you knew that your target audience from a commercial point of view is not hanging out on product hunt?
Yeah, I think I will break down the launch campaign into different pillars. So first of all, to launch on product hunt, your goal is to get as much as upvote as possible, so that you can gain visibilities and eventually put the product onto the top, 10 or 5 or 3 if upvotes allowed. Getting customers is literally a bonus. There's no guarantee. Even though you get 1,000 upvotes, some product hunt owners, they also mention they don't actually get any customers. People just upvote, give comment. Yes, there's a support, there's some momentum and visibility out there, but converting into customers is totally different story. On product hunt is extra difficult because there's no way where you can track and monitor the conversions despite the product owner himself. So I think when you launch a product like this on a market where most of the audience are indies, a lifestyle entrepreneur who just want to support, give it back, they might or might not be your right audience. So you might need to spend extra effort to engage the actual customers who literally want to pay and use your service. And I would say most of these channels are out of product hunt ecosystem. But I think you can still ride on the momentum on product hunt during certain period of time, maybe the week, maybe the day of your launch, to mention and also make sure your target audience know there's something going on, my product is launching, and there's so many people talking about my product. And here is the right time for you to support us. Otherwise, maybe you miss out some special discounts and incentive to be our early customers. And I think if we go deeper into the event industry, I usually look into this industry like this way because it's a multi-stakeholder industry. There's event organizer, there's event attendees, there's sponsors, there's people who curate the events or produce the events. So basically every pillar or every stakeholders can eventually give you some support and tractions. And I think there's so many things you need to do if you need to engage and make everyone happy throughout the launch day.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I agree as well on the point of like, even if it's not your audience, like, generating this kind of, it is a form of social validation that gives, people trust that you're like, you're big, you're legit, you have some very good kind of acceptance from your audience. And it also creates a bit of FOMO, as you said, with, trying to be your early customer. So I think definitely, even if your audience, your commercial target audience hanging out on this is definitely worth obviously putting the successful launch. I know it's something you're very, very. I know we ran a bit over time, but if you're fine, I'm fine with it.
Go for it.
Cool, awesome. Is no code, right? No code is. I mean, it's a very hot topic. It's trending like crazy, especially like this year with everyone trying to learn a new skill and trying to build something. And it's a very controversial one in the sense that there's people who are like avid kind of fans of no code. There's people who say that no, you can't build like serious stuff with no code. First of all, I would say that as with most things in life, usually the approach is never that binary, and it's not even that binary with what you consider as no code. Let's say, for example, if you're building like the way we build here a virtual events platform, and we use other platforms for empowering our video streaming or like other parts of the functionality, would you say, I mean, this is in a way no code, right? Because we don't have to write this hundreds of thousands of lines of code that they've written to make sure that this video streaming works. So I guess it's not such a new thing in a way. It's just what people associate with no code is mostly building something visual quickly without much code. But the concept of you abstracting a piece of functionality and exposing it to someone without them having to write the code themselves has been around for a while, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about no code, and what is it that makes you so kind of passionate about it?
Yeah, I think first of all, the concept of no code and also the no code products been exist for a decade, as you mentioned. I'm in the Dreamweaver generations. I know Dreamweaver, I know WordPress, I know like Wix. I think it's still kind of legacy, like 15 years ago, and then there's Sanger. Technically it's no code, like you don't have to literally write code, or maybe with a minimal amount of HTML where you can generate some fancy front end to communicate your value propositions in front of your audience. So we consider these as a no code tools. But I think the no code momentum's been hyping up in the last couple months or year, because a lot are contributing content, a lot of people are creating small circles to get makers, and so many great success from the no-code startup scene as well. People use no-code to build products and eventually fundraise and manage to scale up and all that. And these success stories are basically educating a lot of people, hey, whether or not you're a technical people, you can deliver something in no time. And arguably, I think there's most of the tools we use right now, you don't have to code. Marketing tool, social media, virtual events tool. If you really want to build something from scratch to put up a product like Balloon, it takes a lot of effort. But right here, you just need to pay a subscription, sign up an event, create, invite your friends and your events out there. But back in the days, 20 years ago, when people want to create a virtual conference or even webinar, maybe they needed support from developers as well. But now you can get rid of all these, people management. You can create your own and just, change the button, change the color, create videos and set up the schedule and then your virtual events out there. So I think there's a lot of beauty of how people can combine different resources and no-code tools and eventually deliver your message, your product, and also help your customers solve their problems as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that becoming like an expert in a specific or like, many no-code tools at the end of the day takes so much time that you could have invested the same time in knowing how to code, or you think it's still faster than building something yourself?
Yeah, it's going to be an endless debate. But I think many no-code tools nowadays, at least the tools we try, you can deliver a lot of great product and replication of startups already. Only if you want to deliver something extremely scalable, your market start getting bigger and bigger, where the capacity of no-code tools are no longer able to fulfill, then you might eventually need to convert your product into an actual product built from fresh code. And I think many no-code tools are actually helping non-technical people to understand the logic behind coding. like how you set up a layer, how you change a button, the padding, the margin, the color. I actually CSS. It's code. It's basically a language to help people make something more beautiful. So now people understand the mindset on products like Bubble, like Webflow. When they want to learn CSS, it's so much easy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, in a way, it's kind of, even though it's a bit of a cliche word, it's kind of democratizing the ability to, build a software product. And it's really empowering. Like, you can see like all sorts of small businesses, like let's say a moms and pops shop or whatever, a bakery, going digital using like no code tools and even integrating like more complex flows with like, sending SMSs to their customers and all that stuff. I think one interesting thing is that you would think that the more technical you are, the easier for you is to pick up actually on no-code tools. But for me, for example, being an engineer myself, I've found myself like being more confused trying to use a no-code tool than actually coding myself. I remember like the first time I was actually building because in the past, like, being an engineer, I've been guilty many times of overbuilding and overcomplicating things and building a spaceship where all you need is a bicycle. I hope I didn't do the same. I didn't make the same mistake this time. So I remember when we were building the first landing page for Balloon, I decided, you know what? No, I'm not gonna go like crazy and like build just a landing page. I'm just gonna use like Webflow. And I remember getting so confused with like the interface and like why do I have to click so many things to just change the pattern and all that stuff. And at the same time, I've seen friends of mine who are not developers building really beautiful sites on, let's say, Webflow and Squarespace much quicker than what I would have done, which is weird if you think about it, because like here I am, like, someone who actually builds stuff, and I'm slower building things with no code than, someone who is not a developer. Is this something that you've heard or seen before, or is just me?
I totally agree with you. I was originally a data scientist, so I do code as well, like front end and analytics kind of algorithm. I think most of the no code tools right now are trying to reverse the coding language logic. So if you're a coder yourself, you want to build a landing page, maybe you can put up something with fresh code in a short period of time. But when you use this file, you need to educate and say, hey, there's components, there's layers, there's something to control the look and feel. So many things out there where it's not actually controlled by the coding interface. So these interfaces are designed for non-technical people to understand quicker how to build up a product like Legos. I think there's some confusions behind, and I can see more and more products that are trying to make this coding ecosystem and non-coding ecosystem merging to each other more and more, so that these people can eventually work together, no matter they are using a no-code tools or not.
Yeah, no, and I think as well, like, it's definitely not a matter of, again, going back to the things are not binary kind of argument. I can definitely see how someone could build something and code something if they feel that, there's no solution that fits their needs, but some parts of their business, some parts of their operations could be offloaded to a no-code tool. And we do that a lot as well. As I said, like, being guilty in the past of overbuilding, I'm trying to keep myself at check with, what we actually need to build. Would you say that there's like, there's cases that like from the get-go that no code would not be a right approach? Or you think that first you will try and kind of exhaust the options or the arguments for whether you can actually do that on no code, and only then you would say like, what, no code is not the right fit for you? How would you go through this exercise?
I think it's really depending on whether there's an incentive for you to build a product from scratch. And if I use myself as an example, yes, I can still code my product, but if I code, I question myself whether I can deliver my product within my schedule. So with no code tools, I think it's not about the products, the workflows or the code or no code I use. It's a matter of whether I can reinvest my energy and time into other stuff so that I can make my product more scalable. So in my case, I use no-code tools to quickly build my product live ready so that I can spend the rest of my 80% of time to do my marketing, do my customer validations, and analyze the performance so that I can, eventually learn from all these learnings and put into my product building process again on no-code tools. And I can eventually update, change things, and relaunch a new campaign again.
Yeah. No, I mean, it goes back to how systematic you have been about everything we've discussed so far, and how like everything feels like a kind of a bit like a factory line that happening in your brain, whereas like the output of thing is a line. The output input for the next step, and also at the same time that is kind of aside for all the learnings and conclusions that you've drawn. So it's fascinating to hear all that stuff. I know we're going a bit over time, so as a closing note, thinking that this is a product hand launch event. Do you have any advice or tips for other makers who are thinking or are planning to launch a product or product hand? Anything?
I know a lot of makers, they will stay up 24 hours without sleeping. Some will do, some work, some not. My advice is make sure you take some break if you need it. And then do not underestimate the support from the community, and do not hesitate to ask for support. But in case if you don't have the audience like many makers, try to build your audience now. The funny story is I got my Twitter account in 2013, and then I never really use it until this year. I only have like roughly 100 followers. I think most of them are my friends, colleagues, and family. Really active. I really started to use Twitter in June this year, and now I have 1,600 followers. I think they're pretty active, and we check a lot. They're not just random followers, but literally people I talk to, people I met from other communities. I think you really need to build your audience, no matter you're building a product, launching a campaign or not. And you will eventually realize the beauty of how powerful this audience can become your ambassador of your product, of the work you do. And there's so many uncertainties where you're unexpected, and I'm pretty sure these uncertainties are very positive.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, to just like sum it up, basically build a community, engage with the community, make sure you focus on actually having meaningful conversations, and this will always pay dividends, right? And we've seen that over and over again. So yeah, I think this is a very, very valid point. So stealing from Cortland's template of finishing a discussion from indie hackers, and I've been a huge fan. I mean, the community has been hugely inspiring for me and the team. Where can people find more about you, and where do you share the things that you're working on, the products that you're working on, and is there anything exciting that you can share with us coming up?
Yeah, sure. I'm mostly active on Twitter in terms of no-code and building products, building in public. On LinkedIn, I'm more a professional towards what I work.
Corporate.
Yeah, corporate, more corporate people.
It's like the meme that says like, my LinkedIn photo, my Twitter photo.
Yeah. I talk about investment. I talk about growth marketing from scale ups and enterprise point of view. And if you like food and drinks, I talk about this on my Instagram. So every social media presence, I have a unique approach. And I usually contribute content on these channels, also on Indie Hackers. But the teaser is in 2021, I'm going to start another journey to learn a new skill. I was inspired by a lot of great designers, particularly illustration designers. I want to create my own series of illustrations as well. Surprisingly, you realize a lot of people may use illustration to communicate the story on the website, on the application. I think there's so much values behind, and I want to learn. And because it's hard, so I want to learn. And please make sure you follow my journey. I'm happy to exchange insights, and let's exchange opinions.
That sounds fascinating. I'm closely following your journey, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to build this year. I know it's going to be something great. Felix, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been amazing to have you here and share all your learnings and all the systems that you use to be so productive. And to wish you all the best with 2021. It's going to be a great year, I'm sure, for you. And I'm going to be paying a very, very close attention to what you're doing. So it's been amazing having you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And all the best. I will be upvoting your campaign on time.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sounds great.
All the
Thank you. Have a great
Bye.
Have a great one.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.